Hello and welcome to Drunk on Tea. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own shade paints similar to Nuln Oil. It's a much cheaper alternative for painting scenery or for shading your own models. So the recipe for making homemade shade paint is some artist's ink, some matte medium, water, and some washing up liquid or dish soap, whatever you call it locally. So to measure all of these, I'll be using this cap here. It's got a line running right across the middle. This is what I'll call one measure. Everything is going to be in parts, so by using a consistent measuring device, it makes this a lot easier. So first of all, I'm using some acrylic black ink here. Use whatever colour ink for whatever colour shade paint you want to make. I'm simply taking some of the black ink and I'm going to put it into my container until I reach that line in the middle, and this will be one part. This is a really simple recipe which you can easily scale up by using each part as a different size. So it's one part acrylic ink. Obviously for a Nuln Oil I'm using black. Use a brown for an Agrax Earth shade or any other colour shade you want to make. So after I filled up to that line on my measuring cup, I'm going to take this and pour it into the container. Try and get as much of the ink out as you can. Now with some matte medium, I'm using this one from Vallejo. Pretty much any matte medium will work. So for this, it will be 2 parts matte medium. So using the same measuring cup, I'm going to put in matte medium up to that line. I haven't bothered to wash the cup out because any leftover ink isn't going to cause an issue coming in here. See, the matte medium is a little bit thicker than the ink. It's going to be a little bit harder to pour out. Just make sure you get all of that medium into your pot. Now I'm coming in for a second measure of the matte medium. So I'm filling it up to that line once again. I'm adding it into my pot with the ink. So I'll make sure I get out all of that matte medium. I need a bit of a scrape. I'm going to use the handle to a paintbrush just to scrape some of the thicker bits out that don't want to flow. Just going to get as much of that medium into the pot as possible. And now it's just some water. Here I can just use tap water because I've got nice soft water that doesn't have any bits in it. Now I'm simply going to take 8 measures of water. So filling my cap up to that line 8 times and pouring that into my pot. So it's 1 part ink, 2 parts matte medium to 8 parts water. Finally, with my washing up liquid, it's the only part I'm not measuring using the cup because I really don't need a lot of this. This will just break the surface tension to the liquid and allow your shade to flow really easily. So I'm just applying a small amount, 2 really quick squirts of washing up liquid, and then I'm giving the whole mixture a really good mix. See, the washing up liquid is going to create some bubbles on the surface. That's absolutely fine. Keep mixing till everything's all mixed together. And just to make sure it's fully mixed, I'm going to pop the lid on and give my shade a quick shake. After you've shaken the mix up, you're going to want to let all of the bubbles disappear. So leave it for about 5-10 minutes.
If you're enjoying the video, please press like. If you want more videos, press the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. If you would like to support the channel and become a member, please press the join button down below.
And after all the bubbles have gone, it's time to test out my shade against To Nuln Oil. So I've got two bases here, which I prime white after I've covered them with sand. The one on the right hand side here I'm going to paint with To Nuln Oil. So I'm just going to coat all of that base with a shade of To Nuln Oil, as I would do for anything else. And making sure I coat all of that sand textured top. Now for the base here on the left, I'm using my own shade. Once again, just covering all of the base with a layer of this shade. And I'll let it dry and see how the two are different. So you can see my homemade shade's a little bit darker than the To Nuln Oil, but it has gone into all of those recesses. And added definition. It's just stained the top a bit more than To Nuln Oil. It acts a little bit more like the old recipe of To Nuln Oil from a few years ago. So now here I've got a base which I paint with Mournfang Brown and one with Metalmania Standard Grey. Quite common basing colours for your models. I've also textured these with sand. So now I'm going to coat these with my shade. See how they look when you apply them to a base. So I'm just laying this on quite thick on the top of the base. Doing the same with the Mournfang Brown base as well. Trying to give it a good coat for my homemade black wash. I'm going to leave these two bases to dry. And you can see how the shade's gone into all of the recesses, given definition to that sand on the base, as well as staining the tops very slightly. A quick dry brush will easily bring these back up to colour. Now, the main reason I use this shade for is for scenery. So I've got the wall here from the Walls and Fences set. I've painted it with Metalmania Standard Grey already. Now I'm going to slather on my shade all over. Let this sink into all of the recesses, do the job of a shade paint, and see how it looks after the shade has dried. I'm not being very neat with this, I'm just applying it all over, like I did in the video talking about fences and walls. But by using this shade for scenery, it will save you a lot of money in the long run. It's much cheaper than buying pots of To Nuln Oil. And after the shade is dried, you can see how it's darkened down everything, but it's really created that definition in all of the recesses. So I'm just going to quickly dry brush it like I did in the previous video. So some Dawnstone. Administratum Grey. And then some Celestra Grey. And now we've got a great looking wall piece, which doesn't look any different than if I'd shaded this with To Nuln Oil. So that is how to create your own shade paints, which will save you a lot of money rather than using expensive Games Workshop shades for things like scenery. For models, I'll still often use the Games Workshop ones just because the results are way more consistent. But for scenery, they work absolutely great and will save you a small fortune. So thank you very much for watching. Please let me know in the comments down below, are you going to try making your own shade paints at home? Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, and extra special thank you to Jenkins, our Tea Lover channel member. Thank you so much for the support, and happy painting!